Ooh. Hey, welcome back. It's another episode of On-Call Nightmares, or not On-Call Nightmares, wrong thing, AzureFunBytes, sorry. I have so many things going on nowadays, I can barely even remember what I'm up to. So thanks for joining me. Welcome back to another one of these. I don't know any other way to put it, but it's another one of these. I've been really enjoying streaming for you all. I think it's been a really cool opportunity to do some real, interactive stuff while also, really focusing on some technical content. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. First of all, the big focus of today is going to be Azure Active Directory. If you saw the cartoon this week or video, I like to call them cartoons because they kind of feel like, shorts. So if you haven't already, head over to Twitter/AzureFunBytes and check out this week's video. I'm going to show it right now. And then what we're going to do is bring in our guest. I feel very, very lucky that I was able to bring this guest in. You'll see her in the video in just a moment, and then we will go right to her and have her interview and talk a little bit about what it is we're going to be doing today. So let's check out the video for the week, and then we'll get into it, all right? Okay, that didn't go quite as well as I was hoping. Sometimes when you try new things, they work. Sometimes they don't. That was a thing I was trying to get some video working. Anyway, I think it's time to bring in my guest. Give me 1 second because I just realized I want to wear headphones so I can actually hear what she's saying. I'm new to streaming. Can you tell? Anyhow, I'm going to bring in just a second. Got my headphones on. And let's bring in Phoummala right here. Hi, Phoummala. Okay.
I was muted. Oh my God.
And my audio's messed up. Give me 1 second so I can
It's okay.
get my audio right.
No, I was telling Scott about streaming. It's like total next level because not only are you the presenter, but you're the production crew at the same time, and you're basically multitasking like super, and it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, you're doing fine.
Yes, thank you. I've really done my best, I think, to like make this work, but but that's going to the wrong place. Cool. Always love it when things don't work the way you expect.
But
Uh,
it's the part
I
that's the
think,
fun thing about being live though, right? I mean, all the stuff that can go wrong always goes wrong.
okay,
You're
I
like,
think I found it.
crap.
All
But it's
right.
fun.
All right, now I got the sound working the right way. I'm so sorry, everyone, that we had to find. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that little bit of appreciation while we're trying here. All right, so we are into it, and now we're kind of ready to kind of talk about what we're going to do today. But before we talk Azure Active Directory, I really just wanted to chat with you a little bit. So first of all, Phoummala, I've known you for a few years now, almost 2. We work together, part of the advocacy team at Azure, and we're really lucky that we get to spend time doing fun stuff together, aside from working. So thank you so much for being part of this today.
Well, thank you for having me, Jay. This is this is fun. I've been trying the whole streaming thing as well, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a new world for us. And I did it a little bit a few years ago, and life came at me, so kind of got out of it. But it is a completely different world than presenting on stage, because usually you have somebody behind the scenes handling all the sound and the audio and the lighting, and now you're like, oh, I gotta do that.
Yeah, I think one of the more interesting parts about being in developer relations is the fact that I've had to go from being like I guess the best way to put it is I've gone from being a video first, from being someone who did things like go and did presentations, go and show up places, things like that. So I'm still kind of getting used to that change. It's new, it's different.
It is, and I think I'm struggling with the video editing portion because I'm not there, like visual wise. I'm not an artsy, craftsy person in that sense. So that's a learning curve for me. But the whole streaming thing, I figure, you know what? Why not try it, right? If kids
Yeah.
can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, I kind of looked at it as there are a really good bunch of opportunities to use SaaS platforms and things like that to really make this work. And so that's what I kind of did. So,
And I think you're doing a fabulous job, especially like the impromptu streams that you do with your dog and everything. I think that's great. I mean, you're showing a piece of yourself, but you're also bringing the community together, and and that's all me too. Like, hey, how can we bring the community together, especially with everything going on right now?
yeah, I think these are important like subjects. The fact that we can talk to people directly, have conversations, because they are here on the other side. They're able
Mhm.
to send comments and stuff like that. If you're watching right now,
Rico's awesome. I just saw a comment. Rico's
thank you.
awesome.
Let's show everybody that Rico is awesome. I love that
Yeah.
little dog so much. Anyhow, I just feel like it's been a really great opportunity to talk to people. If anybody would like to send questions, send comments, whatever, you can see I can get them up here. We can be all talking together. But I think I want to talk a little bit about what that video was trying to get us. And I'm going to bring up something first, and
Oh, I
then
like the clouds. I like what you did with
thank
the
you.
clouds in the background.
All right, so I'm going to bring up some of the Azure Active Directory documentation first before we actually start talking about it. So I just want to have it on the screen for everybody to see. So let's go with the big one here. All right, add to stream. All right, I'm going to make it a little bigger for everybody. But the question is exactly, what is Azure Active Directory? And I think a lot of us who have gone through years and years of being part of IT operations, LDAP directories are just a part of life.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
Microsoft, years and years ago, basically said, we're going to take the idea of an enterprise directory and really make it available for companies to be able to build really, really complex methods of authentication, grouping, policies, things like that. When did you start first using and doing administration around that time? AD.
Oh, back in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it was after I got divorced and all that good stuff. Went back to school. Pretty much got thrown into a job, hands-on training.
Mm-hmm.
Started working with Exchange right away, and obviously, when you're working with Exchange, you're working with Active Directory. Uh, and so I pretty much just kind of, I want to say, what's the word? In the beginning, I was shooting from the hip. I
Mm-hmm.
admit it because you're learning, right? What you learned in school, for the most part, you know the basics. You know what it's supposed to do. But a lot of times when you're going into these small mom and pop shops, and that was my first job, I was a consultant. You're fixing things and you're putting fires out. So a lot of times I was just kind of like, okay, they got a problem here. Because one of my first problems I actually ran into, second day of the job, I believe, was an Exchange problem. It was the bad mail issue. And, and I remember having to go in and having to manually remove the bad mail folders.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, you just do it, right?
Sure. All right. So,
Now everything has evolved so much, and it's like, wow, it's amazing how Active Directory itself has evolved over the years.
and so this kind of leans into some stuff I'm just showing everybody on the screen right now. So a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about today, if you'd like to get more education, do some training, all of this, all the things we're doing today is pretty derivative of these learning paths. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the chat. They will also be part of all the information. So after the show, what I will be doing for you all is making sure that any of the lab links or things that we're working on today, we'll make sure that you get access to all of them in a dev.to blog post. So I always make sure that there's a blog post out there with information that you can take from this and go with this, all the links, things we covered. So I know you've spent some time in Microsoft Learn. I think it's a really useful platform for people to start learning with.
Oh yeah, I mean it's free. Like who doesn't like free?
Exactly. So
Free learning.
So what we're going to do today is a couple of things that you would actually be able to do here. Specifically, we're going to create some users and groups in Azure Active Directory. So we're going to solve a couple of problems today, Phoummala. And so the first question I want to ask you, and let's shrink the screen a little bit so we can really focus in. No, not like that. There you are. Ooh. This is such a fun platform to learn by.
I know. I actually really like StreamYard. That's what I've
Yeah.
been using. It's the video quality is great. I mean, it's not 1080p, but it's fine. And and it's so easy to use and just get
Yes.
connected.
So I started thinking about a way that we can really show people how to start using Azure Active Directory in a way that makes sense for a beginner. Because that's really what I wanted to show people is how beginners can start using these things. Because we're a fundamental show. That's what we're doing. We're talking about fundamentals.
Yeah.
So
What I was going to say is, so those of you that are watching that are thinking, oh, I already have an enterprise and I want to go to Azure. How do I extend my Active Directory? Wrong episode. What we're going to show you is, the basics. Someone that doesn't have an existing Active Directory environment. Because if you already have something, it's a completely different path that we would go down. So I just want to throw that out so everyone that's watching that we have a level playing field. This is for someone that's brand new.
And so I really wanted to focus on a way that a business would kind of start using it. And so I've been watching a TV show I just finished. It was about a business. And so it was about the show Devs. Devs is a fictional corporation. They do quantum computing. There's a whole deep story. I really, really liked it. Sonia Mizuno was just incredible. Nick Offerman is weird. He's basically sad Ron Swanson is the way I like to describe it. But a really great TV show. And like I said, it's about quantum computing. And so what I did is I took some of the characters, and what I've done is I've created some information about who they are and what they are. And let's say that what we're going to do is help their company, Maya Corp, go ahead and get into Azure Active Directory today. Sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay. So with Azure, typically the way to get started is you need to sign up for an account. If you need an account, on the bottom, there is a link on how you can do that. And once you've logged in, what you can do is go to the top, and what we'll do is we'll create a resource, right?
Yep.
And what we're going to do is type in the marketplace. We could either just go to identity, or just type, scroll back up. We will just type here, Azure Active Directory.
There you go.
Cool. So tell me how much time you used to have to put in to create an actual domain and get started.
Oh gosh. After building the domain controller, because that in itself, is at least an hour or two, depending on if it's a VM or a physical machine. Actually setting it up, doing DC promo and all that good stuff, probably like 30, 40 minutes, give or take, right? That's just to get all the services up and running. But once that's up and running, you've got configurations you got to do, and depending if you've enabled DHCP, DNS, all that good stuff, right? I mean, just installing a domain controller and enabling domain services, that's nothing. You've got to configure it. And then once that configuration is done, then you got to add users.
Sure.
So what you're doing, it just takes that level of complexity, work, just cuts it in half, if not more.
So one of the things we're going to do, and so let me move this over here, and then we'll move this one a little bit more over here, so we can. Oh, that's such pretty music. No, I don't want to leave the site. Let's put this a little bit better so everybody can see a little bit more. And so what we're going to do is talk about creating the initial domain. Wow, this is being a pain in the butt, so I'm just going to do it this way. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to create the directory, right?
Yep. So just a kind of a clarification here. So you have your tenant, and then your directory services. The directory services is the in, I guess, layman's term, it's your user account. It's the account that you are going to log into the system or the network, as some people would say, right? It's the basis for that authentication that you need to go through.
Gotcha. So now we've got our corporate domain that we want to create within the tenant. So Amaya Corp AFP, right here. I've got it here. The organization is going to be Amaya Corp, and we're going to keep it in the United States. The reason why we're doing that, and Phoummala, I know you love governance, is because if we are in a European region, what are those four silly letters that we need?
Oh, GDPR. We gotta deal with GDPR.
Exactly. So if I'm in Europe and I'm going to create this tenant, more than likely regulation by the European Union states and most other places like the UK, and they took on GDPR.
So not only GDPR, but because you are a U.S. employee and you're going to be dealing with European user accounts and European their data, there's special exceptions that need to be made. I used to work for an international company, and because I was in the U.S., our company needed to have some documents from a policy standpoint stating that because I'm in the U.S., I am allowed to work on the European user accounts because I was the lead running Exchange. And that was a formality that we had to do to certify that it was okay for me to deal with those accounts. Now, vice versa, right? My counterpart that was in the UK, He didn't have to do that. It was like, I can, because he was coming, working with U.S. accounts. But for the most part, we tried to keep our servers not separated, but we kept them, like European accounts were on this Exchange server, and and then the U.S. and other countries were here, just so that we knew where everything was.
Gotcha.
And we don't right now we don't have to deal with it because we're in the U.S. Oh, I wanted to make a note. The domain name. Choose wisely, people. Okay. Choose wisely your domain name, because once you choose a name, I don't want to say it's impossible to rename, but it's not fun.
It gets to be a lot of work, because if I'm right, you have to start renaming things on all the individual nodes that you have. Things have to. It's a huge undertaking.
It's not recommended to rename your domain. And those of you that have gone through it or attempted it are probably still, you probably still have tracks on your back from it. Yeah. So choose that domain wisely before, just don't put anything up there. Think about that, because if you want to change it, it does take some work, especially from the on-premises world. But in the cloud, there's a lot of work involved.
Makes sense. So we've got our deployment process of actually creating our directories done. Yes, thank you very much. This is not a good domain. I can say yes, I would agree. You got to be very, very, and this is also a really good
yes,
thing to think
about. Certificates would be the death of me.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go into our new directory. So after you've created the directory, and our first initial problem, we need to get the company into an LDAP directory. We can't manage all this via spreadsheets. It sounds really, really awful, right?
Well, some people say spreadsheets run the enterprise, but we need a legit directory services.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention, Amaya is kind of a big company. They've got a lot of people. They're doing quantum computing. They need strict access and tight controls over things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch our directory. So this is my account that I created the new tenant under. And if you go under, you'll see there are a few directories that are already here. And let's see. A new one. Okay, switch our default directory. Where is it? Do the old refresh. All right, so go here, switch directory. There it is. Something cached in the browser.
Yeah, it just takes a second.
Cool. So first major problem that we're going to do is solved. We've now in our new tenant. For our directory. If I wanted to switch back, I can, but we don't need to. So let's go to the home, okay? And for those of you who are brand new to all this, if you go down, I believe there is a free subscription or the free trial right here. I believe you can get a free subscription for Azure Active Directory. So what we're going to do is go to View.
It's included. It's just you don't get all the extra fancy features, right?
Yes. Gotcha.
It's just a basic Azure Active Directory.
Cool. So now
this part could work for someone, especially if you're doing a lab or just testing something out before you roll into production.
Great. So we solved our very first problem. So now we have Amaya, they have our new Active Directory. And now we really want to start making use of it. So my account is going to be default, correct? Always. So if I created the tenant, this is always going to be what we work with first, right? We always have just an initial user. And from what I saw, I still have to kind of go in here and give my user a little bit more privileges.
Yes, you have to elevate yourself.
So I think the first thing I had to do, and let me see if I'm right. I go to the directory here. I think I go to users. I believe user settings. Could I be wrong? There's a way to make it so that my user can modify Azure
Go to your user role. So if you go back a page, I believe it's under the roles.
So go
Roles,
to
roles and admin.
roles and administrators.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you basically want to you want to elevate yourself so that you can be the global. Forgot the name of that.
So
specific
I'm
role.
going ahead and I've added myself.
Yeah.
And it looks like I was already, but I just wanted to make sure. All right, so we're now really able to start working with our stuff here in our Azure AD and really start connecting it to things. And so the first thing we need to do is we've got our group of users. And so let me show you a couple of templates that I've got. But first, I want to show you the main Excel spreadsheet for the custom or for all the people that work at the company. So we've got Lily. She's a security engineer. We've got her department, Forrest, the CEO, and then we have a default password that everybody gets started with. I could have done something a little bit more fancy, but I mean, this is
Hey, I think everyone uses my password 123. I mean, come on.
It's a demo, you know? All right, so.
Isn't that everyone's password?
Yeah, mine is actually password. So now what we need to do is get these users in, but I want to show you first because I don't want to do this all by hand. It seems like a lot of work. So I'm going to do one by hand. Okay.
Well, at some point, your business is going to grow. So doing something in bulk is going to basically save your time. You're going to work more efficiently.
So we have two types of users that we can create here. So there is a user that's a domain user, correct?
Yep.
Is that the kind of, and then we have guest users. And so these guest users can be not part of the domain. They can just log in with their existing user password.
So they're external people that are not part of your directory services. So what you want to do is you want to create users in bulk by adding the new employees or the list of users.
So if I was doing it via an invite, I could do this. Hey, welcome to the company. And then click. I could actually pre-assign it a group, all these other information, job title, big jerk, department, jerk team. And then if I just click, it's going to send me an email to my email address. I can go ahead. I'll have a username and password set. And so that's me, the big jerk. And now what we need to do, though, is we have a number of users that we need, right?
Yeah. So I just want to reiterate the invite users is for external people outside of your company.
So like
yeah, not for someone that's actually working inside the company.
Yeah, so let's say I have a contractor. It's a 4-month deal.
Yeah.
We want to give them access, but then we want to make sure that we actually put a timer on when it's going to expire, all that stuff, so that we don't even need to think about it. Just automatically will deny access. Yeah. And then what we can do is go in later on and make changes so that we can reduce those users after the fact. So let's get into what we actually have to do to get these users into here without me actually inviting them all individually. So what we want to do is create our domain users. We don't want to do externals. And so we're going to go here to bulk create. And so what we get is a template. And so I'm going to grab the template and I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then
I do want to say that doing it this way, I don't want to say is easier, but having a visual. So in the on-premises world, you can create users via bulk via PowerShell, which is really easy to do. But the Azure portal here, for someone that is more visual, it's less intimidating, right? They're like, oh, I can just click here, click that, and upload. Boom.
Absolutely.
Rather than going through PowerShell, if you're new to this and you're having to learn, it is somewhat intimidating to do things through the shell.
Absolutely. So let's look at the template here. So this template is going to just ask us for some pertinent information that we need in order to actually create our accounts.
Yep, and
So
it's the attributes, your account attributes. That's all it's asking you for in their specific columns.
So I've already filled this out in another file. So what I did was I took all these bits of information and I used this create template. So I filled it out and I put in all the information. I even extended beyond what we initially had. So I put what office they all work in. All the people on the devs team, they work in Dev Zone 1. It's only one building. But the rest of the company may work in Building 4, Building 1. So I've got that all in there. We can all see their city that their home is. And then we have all their mobile numbers. So we've pre-populated a lot of information that may have come in during, like, say, the HR process. Like, when you have somebody go and enroll, maybe they fill out a form and it gives you all this. So what we're going to do is take this particular template and we're going to bring it into Azure. So Azure is going to go ahead and allow you to then take the template file that you've modified, and let's go to where I put that file. Where did I put that? I bet it's in downloads. Okay, so let's go to downloads. And which file is it? User fill tel. All right, so here's our CSV populated with all of our information for our accounts. So we're going to go here to file uploaded successfully. And so Phoummala, when I hit submit, what's going to happen on the back end?
So what it's going to do is it's going to pull up that CSV file, and then it's going to parse through each individual line and then create the user account based off the entries off each of the columns.
Okay. So right now, I'm guessing that Azure Resource Manager is taking in, it's making API calls to the Azure Active Directory API.
ARM is the basis for almost everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, ARM is the workhorse.
It's the mothership. It truly is. Everything goes through ARM. You don't accomplish anything without it.
ARM talks to every service, every feature. So it's the workhorse. It is the mothership. And I look at sometimes almost like it's the router too, because it's directing where everything needs to go and what it needs to do.
So we've got all of our accounts in now.
How quick that was. Like,
yeah. And now we can go in, we can tell Forrest, because he's the CEO, that he needs to set up MFA. So we can go here into this portal and we can start configuring MFA for our individual users. We can do it via a bulk update, whatever we need to, but we may want to make sure that everybody that's a part of our directory uses two-factor, right?
Two-factor is very, very important, especially this day and age. There's so much fraudulent activity going on that you just need to protect yourself. I mean, I even have my parents set up two-factor and they don't speak English very well. And my mom doesn't even read English, but I've been able to, teach her how to do things with certain apps that she uses and whatnot. It's so important, especially with our older users or generation, right? So yeah, with anything that I'm a big advocate of two-factor with anything beyond work, turn it on.
So let's look at one of these user accounts. We'll look at Forrest. He's the CEO. And we have his identity information about the CEO.
I do want to throw out here that for those that are looking at this, and this is a user account only. So this enables the person to log on to the directory, log on to the network, and be able to perform functions, whatnot. If you are looking from a mailbox perspective, right, if they're going to log into their computer and open up Outlook, this will not work. There's other extension, there's other features we need to enable, which is in a completely different session. But just wanted to throw it out if someone's watching this, like, hey, what are you going to do next?
So this seems bad. The hierarchical setup of Active Directory makes us want to keep people in groups because we want to apply policies to groups as opposed to individual policies.
It makes managing your directory a lot easier. It makes managing policies easier, security. I know a lot of organizations use security groups to secure certain resources, right? You just add the user into that security group, and then you apply the policy to the security group. And
So,
then it makes it easier. So if the person leaves, the
mhm.
account gets disabled, you don't have to go individually to that account. The account gets, if it's disabled, it gets removed. It's if applying something to a group, it just makes life a management from the management standpoint a lot easier for everyone.
So at this point, what we would be doing is, since Forrest is the CEO, I really don't want him to have global administrator. I'll be honest with you. We should have other people get administrator, but he could be
Yeah, you probably don't want anybody that has purchasing powers or budget, things like that to have access to this.
so
Global
we.
leader,
Mhm. Well, I'm just doing it for his individual user because let's say Forrest, the
if he wants
CEO.
to see something, sure, why not, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we haven't had any groups though. So Forrest doesn't belong to a group. There's no policies to any individual groups. The only policies we've had is this assign role to Forrest, allowing him to be a global reader. But this is not
The
really
default
useful.
building group.
So now what we need to do is go into groups, and we need to create one. So everybody at Amaya is an employee, right? So we want to create a security group and make them a part of that, right?
Yes. If you go to group type, you notice how there's two types: security group and Office 365 group.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're strictly working with security groups. The Office 365 group is totally different session.
Yep. So I am going to select myself as one of the administrators. And so what we'll do is Kenton is head of physical security. So we'll let Kenton also be a part of this as a group owner. We'll hit select. And then what we'll do is we'll add members, which will essentially be all of the company. So it's Forrest. That's me. That's the other me. But no, I'm not going to say the other me because the other me is a contractor. So I don't need to make.
Well, it depends, right? How it depends how you want to utilize that account, the contractor account.
That's true. But would I want contractors to be sub-employees, or would I want those to be kind of separated to ensure that, like,
You could create a separate security group depending on how you want to use this security group, right? If it's used to access certain resources in your environment, yeah, I would keep it segregated. But if it's just like a general all-purpose accessing something that is open to everyone internal, then why not? It just depends on how you want to use this group.
Okay, so we've got all of our users here. They're all now in this group. I'm going to click select and create. And so now we've created this group employee. And part of that now is all the members. So all the members of the company are there. And so is at this point we're going to be making modifications to role assignments? How would we now go about getting?
Okay, so now you've created the employee security group. Yes, you can assign a role to that group and what type of roles they will have.
So next I would click through to employee, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now am I working with Azure role assignments here?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't have a subscription right here. So without a sub, I don't think I can actually do a role assignment. Is that right?
Yeah. You would need a subscription assigned.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with the Microsoft one. Not really interested in showing everybody the work one. But I guess what we can say is eventually we can go in here to a role assignment like we had for that individual. And so what we can do to employee is say something similar for Lily's group. So let's go and we'll just apply it to Lily's user for just the sake of showing. But what we would normally do, if I'm right, is apply this particular role to the group, like a role assignment to the group, and then from there.
Once you assign the role assignment to the group, you would apply it to the specific subscriptions, and if you want to, there's because this is a fundamental session, we want to keep it very simple and basic. But there's different governance tools that we can use with this. You can use this. You can create ARM templates. You can do blueprints and whatnot that assign all these specific parameters.
So that's the one great thing is what we're doing right now is manual. We're doing a lot of manual things. We did one automated process. And so what we do is we manually added now.
Yeah. And so here's my take on there's automation and there's manual, right? If you have a small organization that, has 10 people, you're going to, you can do it manually. You don't need to automate that. To be honest, you're going to spend more time trying to automate everything if you really only have 10 users. Is it really worth the investment to automate everything? You can build it up so that you can automate, right? Because you are going to grow at some point. So yeah, that's my take on it. But if you have 100 people, oh yeah, you definitely want to automate a lot of things. It's gonna make life a little bit easier for you.
Well, what's great here, and I want everybody to be able to see this, is that these resources to create these Active Directories via templatized methods within Azure, specifically we were talking about ARM, these exist. If you've never been to the template directory for Azure Resource Manager templates, you can see that you can pre-configure all these individual settings for your new directories, your forests, an Azure VM with an AD forest, things like that. We can visualize everything as well. So let's go into templates.
We have a lot of templates out there that can get basically the quick starts, right? They get you started.
And so now we can see there's 39 different Active Directory related templates that we can make use of. So create an Active Directory for us with an optional subdomain. Like these are really complicated tasks.
I mean, the subdomains, the child domains, yeah.
And so for a person like myself who's not really an expert at directory management, because I've been more of a Linux person most of my career. I was mostly used to OpenLDAP and implementing OpenLDAP for OpenSSH, and that's how I would get into directory services on different systems. But when you start seeing the beast that is Active Directory, you recognize there's so much can you do.
There's a lot, and I always tell people keep it simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't over engineer, don't make it too complex. The more complex it is, the more upkeep and maintenance. Just keep it simple.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to show everybody that there's also a way to bulk delete, because in order to get rid of things, you need to know how to. But one thing I want to make sure you know is that bulk adding is actually idempotent. And I love that about this, and I'm going to show you really quick what I mean. So we've already got all these users, right?
Yep.
And I've already filled out the template once before with all the information. Let me bring it back up. Come on, where are you?
I was kind of hoping Rico was going to do like a cameo.
I can see if I can bring him in.
Is he sleeping?
You know what?
It's like the afternoon. Ruby's sleeping right now.
Sure. I'm going to send my wife a text since she's in the other room, and I'll see if she can bring Rico in.
Yeah, Ruby's birthday was on Tuesday. She turned 1, so we had a little pool party for her outside, and she jumped in the pool and then jumped back out. But then it's like, wait, I kind of like this. I want to go back in. So basically, it was like jump in, jump out. I'm like, you're getting grass in the water, dog. But it was fun. Now it's the afternoon here, so she sleeps in the afternoon. It's 90 degrees outside. She's like, yeah, I'm just gonna chill.
Nice. So where is it? Why isn't it coming up? There it is. I don't know. I'm trying to bring up the spreadsheet again. I don't know why I can't find it. This has got to be some weird Windows thing that I'm just not used to yet. Huh?
Hey, don't be busting on Windows.
All right. So what we're going to do is just do the bulk delete then, I think. Make it easy for ourselves. So the bulk delete is going to be a lot like the bulk add. And so bulk activities right here, we can go to bulk delete. And the same kind of process happens. We go to download.
Yep.
And what do we get? We get
should get your template.
We get a blank template right here. If anybody knows Contoso, it is in literally almost everything. And so we fill out the template. And so if you want to get these, that's really easy too. You can go and go to your users, go to bulk activities and download. And so you can always have an export of CSV of all the people who are currently in your directory. And then you can go through those accounts if you want to and use this process. So what I did, oh, here's Rico. Hi, buddy.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Rico.
I think he can chill with me for a few minutes before we finish up.
Oh,
So what we're going to do is take this.
I think you just made the world happy. They're like, we saw Rico.
So I'm actually using my other accounts. So I need to actually change. Sorry, Rico. I need to update the Rico Pug Corp here. So fine. Actually, let's do it easier. We just exported the download file, didn't we? So I can just go into that download.
See, you got another Rico is awesome.
So what I'll do is I'll just go back. And so I think I downloaded this. Yeah, bulk activities, download users. There's the previous bulk. I'll just do it again. I don't know what happened to that thing. You know how things just go woo around here sometimes.
Well, Jay, that's how people work in the real world too. It's kind of like, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work the way that I wanted to. Let's try this again.
You ain't. Oh, so right here in bulk operations results, we can always have an export of what we just did. I just forgot about it. So this is when we created our template, or I said I created our users. And then if we go here to bulk activities, like I said, we do what we do. Here is our export of the users we just created. So we can download a CSV right here. And so these are all of our users. So I want to delete all these users here. So all I really need to do is grab these. Yeah, I know, Rico. I messed up. Thank you.
Was that him?
Yes, it was. He likes to remind me when I make mistakes.
Oh, my God.
So I just need to copy. See? There's a new keyboard. Very judgmental. Okay, he's getting pissed off, so I got to move this along.
He's like, Dad.
So all I need to do is go in here, update these to have all of our new. Let me see. Sorry, like I said,
commanding CEO or CIO. You know, he's just kind of like huffing and puffing at you.
Yes, he's very, very.
Are you done yet?
Very judgy. Okay, here we go. I've got all of our information here for our delete process. So I'm going to save the user delete CSV here. Okay, so we'll go back to Azure. We'll go to bulk operation results. We'll see that we've got our stuff here. And what we'll do is go back to all users, bulk activities, bulk delete. We've already made our CSV file happen. So all we need to do is go to user delete. Are you sure? So we get a are you sure, which is always great. And am I right that AD users have like a 30-day retention?
Yes, there's a 30-day retention, and there believe you can actually change it to make it shorter, but just it's sort of the tomb from the old on-premises world. It's like the tombstone that if you needed to, if somebody made a mistake, you can go back and recover them from the dead. I've actually in a previous life, I've actually had to recover quite a number of user accounts.
So I failed. Let's figure out why I failed.
I believe.
Oh, so 9. Oh, it was 9 out of 10. So
yeah, I love the fact that a lot of these errors now are more descriptive. Before just being like,
this is a great error to get though, because the reason why this error happened. Go for it, Phoummala.
Can I see the full failure? The failure reason.
Well, the reason why is I can just say it. The reason why is this was the administrative user.
Oh yeah, you can't delete yourself.
Exactly.
Like, and so, there needs to be an administrator account there.
Yep. So now the company
that was a good one to do.
So now the corporation is going out of business, right? They lost everything. I'm not going to tell you how the show ends, but let's just say that things don't end so well, and now the company has to go out of business, right? So now we're going to have to delete this domain. Sorry, everybody, but Amaya, they didn't make it. And so what we're going to do here now is go to delete tenant. Right, Rico? Here, I'll bring you into frame a little more. Something just fell.
Don't try this at home, kids, unless you are really, really sure. Don't try this in production. Delete your tenant.
So now we have all the things that are, so this is a really important part of it. There are parts that are currently connected that if we don't do these things, we can't actually delete. And so this was the thing that I was talking about before. Our user that is created by default in properties is not even permitted to do anything, to delete anything, unless you go into this section and actually save it. I learned this the other day when I was trying to delete a directory. And so once we finish this, I think it takes a couple of minutes to propagate this change.
It's the safeguards, right? It's those additional safeguards that we've put in because we are humans. We make mistakes.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
I you know what? I've done it too. Why do you think we recover? Would restore user accounts often? People would make mistakes, especially if you have multiple people managing your Active Directory environment. You could have your server team, your admin. Your server team manages the actual AD server itself, domain, your domain controllers. But then you may have help desk creating accounts and whatnot. So it's all up in the air when you've got a lot of hands in the cookie jar.
Absolutely.
So those safeguards are good.
My green screen is kind of being a little wacky at the moment because Rico and I are having a moment. He's a little annoyed. All right, so I think we can start wrapping up. What do you think?
Yeah, no, sure. Look, I was looking at the time like we're hitting there, and
thank
you for bringing Rico on. You made my day, and I think you made our viewers' day. Everyone loves Rico.
Yeah, Rico is a popular dude everywhere I go. It's funny. Living here, in New York City, you get to spend a lot of time around a lot of people. And one of the big parts of that is, other people's dogs and knowing other people's dogs. And it's so funny, like all the people that we've met around the last few years, so many of them have been like product of meeting their dogs while we're out and spending time with Rico. And so it's always been really amazing to kind of,
Well, it's the same thing with our dog too. She is the highlight of the neighborhood. I'll take her for a walk, and random people in our neighborhood, they're like, "Oh, that's our favorite dog," and I'm like, "Oh." And we have this little boy in the neighborhood that actually rides his bike, and will stop at her house and ask for Ruby. Like, is Ruby outside? And I'm like, "No, she's inside." Oh, darn. It's like, these dogs, they are the highlight of people's lives right now, just because most people are at home and they're going for walks, and pets are just they're good for the soul.
Yes. Rico, you're really good for the soul.
His eyes are just like, they say so much.
It's funny is like when you live in a place like New York City, especially, you don't get to know a lot of names. Because of the people you see, especially a building like mine, like this.
Oh yeah, you live in a pretty big building.
Yeah, there's like 650 apartments in this place. So
you're up pretty high too.
There's a 50-something story building. I live in, for those of you watching, I live in Lower Manhattan around Wall Street. Yeah, your breath is awful. God. And so living in this neighborhood, you don't really get to know a lot of your neighbors' names, but you meet people. And the thing that you end up knowing more than anything is their dogs' names.
Yeah.
Especially the people.
I totally get it.
The people who have like Instagram accounts for their dogs and stuff like that, there's a number of those. Anyhow, I'm going to, yes, thank you. I'm going to put him down. He's really
he's like, yeah.
Cool. So Phoummala, thank you so much for helping me learn more about the fundamentals around Active Directory on Azure. There were some things that I kind of understood, but there's things that you really help kind of put more in a perspective for me. I'm
glad to be on.
So I'm head over heels for your help. So thank you.
We didn't talk about my snack real quick.
Absolutely.
I got to promote this. This is.
So we should talk a little food before we go, because you're a munchy lady.
I was debating, should I eat my crab legs right now or wait till after the show?
Well, sometimes you just got to do, like, if you're hungry, you got to satiate that beast.
I love food. I love eating, and I love sharing food with others. So I'm sure one of these sessions, lobster. Yes, lobster. He knows me.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching Phoummala and I today. If anybody has any more questions or anything before we go, we'd love to hear from who's watching. A lot of people here have been really, really awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jay, for having me.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, everybody, for watching.
We appreciate everything you've been able to shoot our way today. And Phoummala, thanks so much. If you're watching, there'll be a dev.to blog post with links to some of the things we talked about today, and a video of the whole Twitch show. It'll be on YouTube as well. So share it with your friends. Tell people to like, subscribe, share the Twitter. I don't care. Just hook me up. I need your help. Phoummala, I'll see you soon.
See you, Jay. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that's really about it for this week. I've got my silly background. I really like this one. I really love doing this for you all. It's been so much fun to be able to teach people from my computer at home. And on top of that, see some friends that I don't get to talk to that often. I'm hoping to do more of that with this show. And if you would like to learn something about Azure with me one day, I'd love to have you on. I'd love to teach you something here on the show. If you've never done streaming before or something like that, don't worry. It's as easy as doing a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting, whatever it is. I got to make sure I mention the company product, I suppose. Anyhow, thanks a lot for watching AzureFunBytes. It's really cool to be able to do this for you. My name's Jay Gordon. The link on the bottom here is everything that you need in the scroll of all the stuff that you can use from this show. Like I said, the link at the bottom will go to the blog post with all the info you'll need. I'm going to just kind of take it with one more song, and I'll see you from there. So I know what I want to listen to. La 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 la. Well, in a little bit of an 80s mood, and I don't know if this is even an 80s song. This might have been one of their, this is one of their 90s songs. But I was in a new wave kind of mood today, and I figured that this song that I'll play next is super, super, it seems really, really relevant to our current time. I didn't want to get too deep into the state of the world, but, things are crazy all over lately, and the only thing we can really do is, okay, Rico, I'll let you out in a second. He doesn't want to be in my room anymore. Anyhow, take care and enjoy this next song, and I will see you. Rico, I'll let you out. I'll see you next time on AzureFunBytes, okay? Bye-bye.